Yeah, live and direct from the new planet Earth, where pandemics are plenty, but the girls are still pretty in fashionable dresses. You know what I'm talking about. Where ignorance is bliss, and you ain't gotta give a about no code.
Tell me who unleashed our animal instinct. Why the op standing there tickle pink? Have a drink, no more liquor. Got a poison. One thicker, one gangster, one hole in the desert for the snitch. What happened to the cold?
Welcome back to another edition of the Franchise Podcast. I'm Deadpool. That's Blackie Robinson. Joey, you are out.
Yeah, man, listen, man, I told that man TQ long time ago, hey, let me shine a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Let me cook. I need to get on the podcast, man. I guess he waited till them good Dodgers got in the World Series. He know that's time for me to shine. So here we go, man. TQ went to go vote. He say them folks trying to put us back in chains. So he had to go do his civic duty. You understand? And you got me today. Blackie Robinson, World Series champion. What's up, Deadpool, my dog?
Did I hear you talk about bats, balls, whips, and chains? I mean, that sounds like a fun time to me.
Come on, man. You know what it is out here, man. We ain't playing no game. Let's go, man.
Let the show begin.
Let's go.
Topic number one today is something that we love near and dear to our heart. You're rocking the gear, Blackie. That is the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Oh, yeah.
In the World Series. This comes out on Halloween. So, of course, they may be world champions when this come out. They may not be world champions. We may be going to a game 6 when this comes out. But let's talk about what happened in game 4. Let's start off with the big topic, which is fans and the fan interference. Now, I'm all for fans doing whatever they want to do. Hell, yell, heckle, say whatever, as long as it's within taste, not offensive to the people around you. But you never interfere with what's going on the field, ball in play or anything like that. What we seen last night with the person grabbing Mookie's mitt, trying to open it, the other guy holding his arm down, that legally can be considered assault. I'm not saying it is. I'm not soft like that. But regardless, that is out of bounds, over the line. They need to be kicked out of any stadium for the rest of their lives, and I wouldn't be surprised if they get some jail time.
Yeah, I mean, you know, look, I understand New York fans, right? A lot of these fan bases are, I mean, they just over the top. I mean, I come from one. I'm a Raider fan. I understand. And I mean, the Dodgers, you know, they pretty, they get a little active themselves. That being said, look, check your emotions at the door, man. I get it. They want a World Series so bad. They believe they're the greatest team God ever made. You like them, the 27 championships and all of this, whatever. Nobody cares about that because the bottom line is you're outmatched. Okay, period. Sports is about the best team. And when you lay them out there, even with, you know, a ruptured pitching rotation, the Dodgers are the best team in the league, period. They're better than the Yankees, and they're going to win this series because of that. So check the emotions at the door, and calm your ass down, all right? Because first of all, Freddie Freeman is on a tear. He cannot be stopped.
World Series record, 6 straight games with a home run.
That's first and foremost. Number two, anybody in LA and anybody in New York should be worried about a slumping Shohei Ohtani and a slumping Aaron Judge. Because at any given point, they could swing the bat and change the game, you know, on one at bat. So they both have had less than stellar performances in this World Series. And I expect for both of them to come out of the slump tonight, to be honest. So you can do all the interfering you want. You want to make dumb, irrational, emotional decisions. Hey, y'all never gonna come back to Yankee Stadium again. I hope it was worth it.
You know, with Shohei slumping, when he had his single last night, that was the best one he's had all series. And I do think I agree. I think he's about to come out of it, and I wouldn't be surprised if in Game 5 he does something real special, and when he breaks, how he breaks out of it, or when he breaks out of it. Um,
Yeah, I agree.
it's just something now. Him running like this, that does concern me. But I mean, what he's showing me is toughness and grit, and that's something that you didn't necessarily see with him with the Angels. And the Angels, they probably would have had him sit out the World Series. And with him, he has this him having the say so now and the wherewithal to say, "This is my opportunity to become a world champion," as well as winning the WBC last year. This is a cherry on top. This is where legacies are defined. No matter if he's 50-50, if he's the greatest player to ever play the game, whatever it may be, this is where legacies are defined. Aaron Judge is feeling that right now as well, hence his slump. Now, the single he had last night leads me to think that he's starting to see the ball a little bit better. And if he starts squaring it up, now we have a series that could get real interesting. But last night's game was a throwaway game, Squeeze. We talked about it in our pre-show yesterday. I said one thing and you and agreed with you what you said on another. You said, with the pitching staff being the way it is and it being a relief game, so to speak, um, that it's whatever. The Dodgers that's their relief pitching is done well. When the Dodgers relief pitchers are in situations where they are in a normal relief situation after a starter pitches, their ERA is sub 2 and the Dodgers win.
Mm,
When they start them, their ERA is above 11.
mm,
And the only game that they had was, I think, the Mets series, or no, excuse me, the Padres series, where the relievers came in and really saved the day.
mm,
I said yesterday on pre-show that the Yankees have to get to playing Dodger baseball, meaning they have to steal bases, they have to manufacture runs. You've seen that last night with Anthony Volpe. I
yeah.
mean, the first player in history with 6 RBIs and 2 steals in a game in Major League Baseball in World Series history, so it's baseball history. That is phenomenal for a guy that is got the he has to carry the load on his shoulders as being the next Jeter. That's what's been bailed with him since he came up through the minor league system. That he was the Derek Jeter-esque type player, and
Mm,
he's going to get better. And to see him get him hit like that, and he had a pretty good year. Torres hitting. I'm not necessarily worried going into Game 5 because, quite frankly, I think that, like you said, the Dodgers are a better team. But I also think with what happened yesterday and listening to Mookie's comments last night before I went to sleep, where he said, what happens inconsequential. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant with the fan interference. They came out hungry. They came out basically like a wounded dog. They're ready. They were the hunter. He felt that there was a sense of, I don't know, like urgency that he hadn't, that the Dodgers hadn't necessarily had to face before with the Yankees in this series. I think the Dodgers last night, it was just one of those games, it was a throwaway game. I look for them tonight or on Friday, which would be Fernando's 64th birthday, which I think would be a great way to kind of like tie that all together to win the World Series. But tonight's game is a game that the Dodgers have to come out a little more fire. Hopefully, they can get off to another hot start and continue that, going forward in the game. Because Flattery, the second time facing the team, he didn't do that well against the Mets last series. And I'd rather have him finish it off and give Yamamoto a whole offseason's worth of rest and have to throw Yamamoto back out there, even though he looks like he has found his stride yet again.
For me, there are teams that I absolutely hate, right? And the truth about those teams, what makes me hate them so much is the respect that I have for them. And they have forced me to have that respect, right? So that's the Celtics, that's Alabama football, that's Notre Dame, that's the Chiefs. These are the squads that even Green Bay. I'm always gonna look at what they've been able to do to my teams over the past, the sustained winning, the ability to rise to the occasion. I've watched all of these teams do that, and a lot of them have broke my heart. numerous times. The Yankees are one of them. So I've never believed that this was going to be a sweep. That's just not in the Yankees' DNA, really, to just get swept right now. It's just not. Um, Also, I wanted them to win last night, man.
Why is that?
I wanted them to win for DJ Clark Kent. That's my dude. He's been a pillar in Yankee fandom for years and years and years since the first time I met him. We was talking. He was talking Yankee shit. It just is what it is. And I just feel like, you know, he lost his life a couple of days ago. And honestly, I just wanted to. He was such a underrated and underappreciated icon when it came down to hip hop. You know, lost his life at an early age, just, you know, due to health problems. And it was just fitting, man, that the Yankees just wasn't going to go out like that, first and foremost. And I'm glad that they won that, because I know that he was rolling over in his grave, man. I wouldn't be surprised if they win again tonight. A lot of it, to me, has to do with what's going on in LA right now and the state of the Dodgers. It's like the Dodgers won a difficult World Series a couple of years ago that nobody gives them credit for. Due to the pandemic, we didn't get a parade. It was an abbreviated season, so all the haters make the asterisks bigger than the actual win, bigger than the actual championship. So I think the Dodgers definitely have redemption and revenge on their minds. I don't think there's a team that has ever been built that can get out of LA with a win right now against the Dodgers. So if they lose, you know, if they lose game 5, you know, that's par for the course for a team as great, as historic, and as successful as the Yankees. It's in their DNA to win their last game, their last home game at home in front of their fans. So I don't mind that if it happens. LA is going to be a killer beehive Friday and Saturday.
You know, I think you said that, and it brought this something came to my mind. It was mainly, I think when the games end, there are 2 iconic endings in baseball, and that's Dodger Stadium playing "I Love LA." I still get, every time I hear that, I get goosebumps to this day. It's Randy Newman, a phenomenal singer songwriter. I mean, just in his own right. And then I Love New York at their game. I mean, there's something about the coast. It's the 2 biggest brands in baseball. Even with the two of the richest histories, the Cardinals are right there, right with them. And for me, like hearing that last night after the game, it just kind of gave me a smile, because it was like, okay, yeah, and I like the Yankees too, but it's just kind of like, yeah, this all is right.
Hey man, check this out, man. Check this out. Nobody want to hear nothing about no damn I love New York, man. We don't care nothing about New York, man. This is LA, West Coast, the Dodgers, baby. Can't nobody push us out this year. This Blackie Robinson, World Series champion. I'm here. I just got my fro did, huh? Got my beard hooked up, got my tooth shined up, baby. We about to win the World Series. You understand? You can take that New York shit and stuff it up your ass, throw it in the East River or something, man. I'm going to pour me a drink, man. Let's get on something else, shit.
Well, I guess you got to let it soul glow just a little bit. Maybe get the activator. Sleazy E. Is that what that is? Is that Blackie or Sleazy? I'm not sure yet. But yeah, regardless, I think hearing "I Love LA" being played after Game 6, if the Dodgers win it, and games, if they don't win it Friday or Wednesday night, it would be phenomenal. So Dodgers, hell of a run. It's a good series. If you're a Dodger fan, if you're a Yankee fan, last night made you feel good, but it's like you get to go on the one date with the hot chick, but at the end of the day, nothing comes out of it. So when we come back, we're going to get into Raider Nation and what's happening right there. And it's not good, folks. This is the Franchise Podcast, Halloween edition.
This section was brought to you by Coldwell Banker Premier Realty. Coldwell Banker is a service-driven, highly productive team of professional sales and support people who are dedicated to consistently providing superior real estate brokerage and related services, setting the industry standard of value and excellence.
Welcome back to the Franchise Podcast, Halloween edition. Joe Arrigo, TQ, Deadpool and Blackie Robinson dipped out. God knows.
Yes, sir.
All right,
Yes,
man.
sir. I hope Blackie didn't disrupt things too much, man. That's my cousin, you know what I'm saying? He always trying to be in the mix. I had to go and do my civic duties, though, you know what I'm saying? Did y'all vote? If you ain't voted, get your ass up. Go to the polls, man. Mail it, do something.
Mail it, anything. Just vote. Your vote, especially the local stuff, man. The local stuff is what's critical right now.
Real talk. Real talk.
Okay, no political talk. That's all you get on our show. Hey man, the Raiders, man, Raider Nation, man. They're not in a good mood right now. That they've 2 wins on the year going into week 8. It's one of them. It's hurtful because there was expectations. I admit I was wrong. I thought they were gonna be a playoff team. I thought there was something there. I thought the magic of the AP's culture building was gonna do a little bit more than what it has. I thought Minshew would play a little bit better, even though Minshew hasn't been bad. He's what we expected him to be. You know, what are you expecting him? We expected him to be. He's not. He hasn't been. He's not going to carry a franchise. He's not a. If he was a franchise carrying quarterback, he wouldn't have been on 3 different teams. He's a guy that can come in and fill a gap and be a bridge guy.
Bridge to what, Joe?
Well,
bridge to what?
That's the question, Squeeze. That's the question.
Look, I have been told for years by other fan bases that we as Raider fans, Raider Nation is delusional, right? And since we've been doing this job, since we've been covering the Raiders firsthand, I'm starting to recognize it. Okay, as a media person, you are privy to a lot of things that you aren't as the average fan. All right, we get to shoot these guys and cover these guys throughout the whole offseason, right? We cover them during the draft. We cover them during mini camp, OTAs, training camp, and throughout the season. You're able to see things, right? The bottom line is, when it comes down to football, more so than most sports, the best team is going to win. And the Raiders do not have a good team. Okay, so you have a house, a hurricane comes through and blows your house down. Josh McDaniels. What do you have to do first and foremost? You have to rebuild. You start at a foundation. Now, if the house is blown down by a hurricane and you're going to build right back in that same place, you're not going to build the same house that just got blown down. Another hurricane is bound to come at some point. You got to build it stronger. How do you start with strength? You start at a foundation. You have to lay a better foundation than has been previously laid because the damage was too much. You're in effect starting over, right? How long does that take? Are you going to build your foundation and have it done in 24 hours? Absolutely not. It doesn't work like that. It takes time. I said at the beginning of this, at the end of the training camp, I told Raider Nation, you're going to have to be patient. All right? You have a first-year head coach. He is going to make mistakes and take his lumps. All right?
Mistakes he has made. That game management has been horrible.
Hey, that's what happens when you take a person who has never been in a job and you give them the opportunity to do the job for the first time. Now, okay, if Antonio Pierce was brought into a team that was Super Bowl ready, that would be a dumb decision on behalf of management. He shouldn't be in that position. But if you're bringing him into a team that you're trying to start over, you're trying to build a new culture where you need a foundation, then that's the perfect situation for him. Allow him to grow in his role as the team becomes a team. I've said from the beginning, the best thing that the Raiders can do this year is whatever they need to do to get a quarterback. All right. You gave away a serviceable quarterback at a time when there was not a better replacement. What did you expect to happen? Look, I respect the team that Tom Telesco built with the Chargers. I believe the only reason that wasn't a Super Bowl contending team was because the coach was ass. But down the roster, player to player, almost 2 or 3 replacements back, that was a damn good team. So when he was hired for the Raiders, I felt like he would be able to do the same thing. I have to believe that somebody that intelligent with that type of track record did not bring Gardner Minshew in here to be the starting quarterback for the Raiders.
No,
when they brought him in, they thought that he was going to give some competition to Aiden O'Connell and be a serviceable backup because that's what he is. Things didn't go that way in training camp. We saw it. You said from the beginning that Gardner was going to win the job. I couldn't believe that he was going to win the job. But the bottom line is Aiden O'Connell fared better in the offense last year than he did in the offense this year. And so did the whole team. You gave away Derek Carr. You gave away Josh Jacobs. What do you expect?
Well, I think you brought up a couple of things I want to touch on. One, when it comes to when Minshew got brought in, I think the Raiders, I know for a fact, I can say that with definitively, that the Raiders were trying to move up. The problem is, none of the teams dropped in the top 3 were moving off of those picks. You see, and for Raider Nation to keep going back to, they should have gave everything to Washington. If you heard New England on Hard Knocks say, unless it's a franchise-changing type offer, which means all your picks this year and some next year, maybe your best player, we're not moving off this pick. And Washington is not moving off Jaden Daniels, who right now is the rookie of the year. I mean, what you see Jay doing out there, and I'm not trying to put salt in an open wound, it just is what it is. Then nobody knew. And credit the Atlanta Falcons for keeping it as hush as they did. Nobody knew they were going to draft Michael Penix. And doing so, to draft him, to have him sit behind a guy coming off an Achilles that they just gave $100 million guaranteed to. And they're doing this because they think this is going to breed long-term sustained success. They've seen other organizations do it.
Foundation.
It's a foundation. And credit Raheem Morris for bringing that to the table. This is part of his vision and what he wants to have happen. So when you see, so you weren't going to get a quarterback. Bo Nix wasn't going to be an option for them, in all honesty. So, and he's not having that great of a year, if we're being all honest, being honest with everything anyway. He's having an okay year, but he's not showing to be that franchise caliber quarterback that everybody thinks. And if you go back to 2023, credit JT the Brick for retweeting that. I don't know if you've seen it. Go pull up the tweet. It had Bryce, CJ, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson, and Hendon Hooker, and saying which one of these guys basically the tweet was, you need to go get one of these quarterbacks. Well, only one of them has had really a successful career thus far, and that's CJ Stroud.
That's
the rest of them, Hooker hasn't gotten on the field other than to take a knee. Will Levis is too busy eating putting mustard in coffee, drinking it, doing commercials there. Anthony Richardson is too busy tapping out on a 3rd and goal in a crunch game. Who is available, by the way? Would Raider Nation want him for a 4th round pick? That's out there. And Bryce Young, the number 1 overall pick, was benched by Carolina. And maybe that's not Bryce's fault, because there's not a lot of work within Carolina, who's trading away everybody now because they're going back to rebuilding because their owner's trash. So again, culture, foundation, I agree. Goes now point 2 when it comes to AP. You're right. He is trying to build a culture. You're right. He's a culture guy. He's making a ton of mistakes, but you pointed this out, and you pointed out every time we talk about the Raiders, and it's a valid point. He's got an all-star cast. They have the largest coaching staff in the entire NFL. Why now? Marvin Lewis, Tom Coughlin, his advisors, why aren't they helping him through these mistakes? That to me is a question that has to be asked. If you have these guys there that have experience, Super Bowl winning experience as coordinators and head coaches, why aren't you listening to them when it comes to game management? You hire a guy for game management, he's not good at his job. It's evident in what we've seen as media members and as fans of the Raiders. They've seen it constantly as well. Game management has been horrible with AP. So that leads to, okay,
go ahead.
What? No, then that trickles down to the locker room. Man, this dude ain't, man, AP don't know what he's doing in the game, man. Like, how now those, you're gonna have players who those whispers start to happen. And now that culture that was so prevalent last year, and he did a great job of cultivating it when he took over and brought a lot of excitement and belief, even for people like me, in terms of culture and what he's building there. Now you jettison Devontae Adams, a guy that banged the table for you, and all of a sudden you can't communicate with them when times get rough. Max Crosby is being Max and still steadying the course and trying to be that guy. But you're letting Jack get away with things. You bench him for a quarter, but if that was Marcus Peters, you would have kicked him off the team. There's a lot of things that I think players now are kind of going, wait a minute, is he who we thought he is? Or is he out for himself and now that he got the gig? So I think that there's a lot of question marks that's creeping into that foundation, which now with Tom Brady involved as a minority owner, and really Mark Davis is really going to listen to him. Mark wanted him in 2020. John Gruden said, no, I want Derek Carr to remain the quarterback. Brady wanted to come to the Raiders. He wanted to be a part of this team. He wanted to, which again, culture changing move doesn't happen. Now that Mark has him in fold as a minority owner, if he wants to bring in a guy and it's in Mark's ear, like, hey, AP only has a 3-year deal, it's only for X amount of money, we could bring in a guy, and I know you're not a fan of him, but Mike Vrabel will bring in Arthur Smith, which, again, modern offense, a guy that knows defense, bring a good culture in Tennessee. Hey, we could bring these types of guys in and create something. Is Mark going to listen? I think with the lack of success that's happened, it is a ton of more questions that are being asked right now and that are out there than what it was even after the AP hire, which in some circles wasn't a good hire in their mind. They thought he skipped a few steps in becoming a head coach. And now we're seeing those steps that he skipped are starting to be big warning signs, and they're occurring as the games are going on, with, in particular with game management.
It's still delusional as far as I'm concerned. It's still there's still an escape from reality regarding how we look at this team. I'm glad Tom Brady is in the fold.
Me too.
I'm glad he's in the fold because of his football mind. I believe that he's going to look at the Raiders and he's going to say, listen, your biggest problem is the fact that you don't have a quarterback and you have a bad OC. Because last year, in the second half of the season, you absolutely saw this team thriving. They looked better then than they look now. Now, injuries absolutely have something to do with it. All right. There are some people injured. There have been some losses. If you don't have Josh Jacobs and you don't have Devontae Adams, you're not going to be as good on offense as you were last year. But if you bring in Luke Getsy's offense, as opposed to what you were running last year, without those two players, you're going to be even worse. All right. That guy has to go. He just does. I don't care about the reasons. I don't care about it's terrible. All right. You've had time in this league in your role. You haven't done a great job. Antonio Pierce has a bad team. Let him take his lumps. He is a first-time coach. When you hire a first-time coach, he is not going to do things like Bill effing Belichick. All right?
Who's available, by the way?
You got a quarterback who's given the ball away 11 times. 11 times. Who else has given the ball away 11 times? You cannot read. Well,
interceptions. I mean, it's not interceptions, it's fumbles.
Jordan Love has shown himself to be a good quarterback. I've seen throws that Jordan Love has made where I'm like, whoa, That looked like Aaron Rodgers. I've never seen that with Gardner Minshew. Never.
No.
Yes, I've seen him running
not
around.
at all.
I've seen him running around with his mustache on fire and just tosses the ball up and somebody catches it. Yeah, I've seen that many times. Gunslinger my ass.
Pea shooter.
He ain't it. Tom Brady is the first person that's gonna understand that walking through the door. Luke Getsy ain't it. Tom Brady is the first person that's gonna understand that walking through the door. All right, but what's the strength of your team? Strength of your team is your defense. You started building it last year. You added to it this year. You've sustained some serious injuries on that side of the ball, right? You don't have a quarterback. You don't have an offensive game plan worth nothing. You got to deal with Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, and Sean Payton 2 times each every year. All right. You can't win. You cannot win. What's the point of trying to get into the playoffs? What is that going to do for you? Nothing but drop your draft status down lower. You got too many holes in the team. At the beginning of the year, okay, some people were optimistic. All right, you're going to add Christian Wilkins to Max Crosby, Butler, and Malcolm Kuntz? Yeah, that looks like something to me. Jack, how he was playing last year, my man Bennett, all through training camp, killing it, right? That looked like something. That is a shell of itself. Hobbs balling, that looked like something. It's a shell of itself now. You got people hurt and you got people not willing or unable to tackle. So what the rest of the season?
That's a will thing, man. Like we played football our entire life. We still know how to tackle in our 40s. So I don't want to use
those who seem to have forgotten over this last month and a half don't need to be here next year. The rest of this year should be an evaluation between Tom Telesco and Antonio Pierce about who needs to be on the team next year. All right, you're getting a new defensive line next year. You got Christian Wilkins coming in. You got Malcolm Kuntz coming in. You're adding to this.
Credit Tyree Wilson. He's played well since
he has.
He's gotten healthy and he's played well, and he's showing that you're showing a burst. So credit him, and that's a good piece. And I think you got to add, besides Telesco and AP, you got to add Champ Kelly in there as far as a decision maker, and Tom Brady. And they're going to go to MD, and those 5 will collaboratively come up with the plan. But Telesco will have the final say going to Davis. It's his job. He's a general manager. I agree.
As he should. But this whole thing, this whole swell from Raider Nation about fire the coach. All you're going to do is bulldoze the foundation that you've started to build. It's more, you've been wasting time since you've been in Las Vegas. It's time to start making the time mean something. Stick it out. Stand pat. Have a good draft. Find the 1 or 2 fringe free agents that will make the team better. Don't go out hiring somebody to make a cornerstone. Look, Las Vegas is a stopover. The Raiders have been a stopover for years. Stop making the same mistake. You don't go get a Randy Moss. You don't go get a Richard Seymour. You don't go and get a Warren Sapp. You've done that. Cultivate what you have already. What do you have already? You got a first-year coach that's fiery, that has shown that he can get into a team's psyche and make them believe in themselves. All right? You got a proven general manager. You got an owner that has shown that he understands what to do with a football business. You got to have $60 to get a damn beer and a popcorn in that place. All right? So let the people
silver and black margarita and popcorn.
I mean, look, man, you better get some overtime money or something if you want to add a silver margarita to it, because but it's no joke, you know what I'm saying? But let the people in the room that have been put in the room do their jobs to make the team better. All of this stopping and starting it, you cannot win like that. Look at those teams that have had dynasties. Dynasties come with consistency in players. They get marginally better every year by having a good draft and by getting key free agents to come in and fill roles. The Patriots didn't go out and get guys to come in and be the face of the organization. Why? Because they had Tom Brady. Now you can't find Tom Brady everywhere, but you can look for him. You can look for him. You got the man in the building. Use his resources. He has resources. The Raiders should be learning how to get better and picking up Shedeur Sanders in the draft to move forward.
Well, okay, so we were talking about building and what they want to do and building around the defense, right? The only problem with that is you got to have a running game, and there's no running game. Zero. Madison is the only one, and he averaged less than 2 yards a carry last game. It was ridiculous.
Got no opening.
There isn't, but when they moved Jackson Powers Johnson inside to center after James went out, things looked a little bit better. There's your starting center going forward. I don't care what James is getting paid. I think you put him there. And you know what? The trade deadline's coming up. It's on the 5th. I would not be surprised if Colton Miller gets moved. I'm going to tell you why. One, his play has not been good this year, injury or not. But this is the last year or I don't think he has guaranteed money going forward. This is the last year of that. It's a very movable contract. There are teams that could potentially feel like, hey, we could bring him in, see if we can get him for something. The Raiders have 4 picks in the first 3 rounds. That's a good start to build. If you could get a comp pick, let's say a 4th that could go to a 3rd, if whatever, for Colton Miller, and the more likely that I'll get to a 3rd, I'll get you that 5th pick in the first 3 rounds. You have a base so that you could move up and get people, or you could stand pat or do whatever. You can do whatever you need to do with those picks. I agree with you in terms of building the foundation. But here's where I have hesitation and I have concern. One, each year with the head coaching community, who's available that will take jobs, it varies. There are some years where there is a crop of candidates where you're like, crap, that guy right there, oh, I would love to have him, or I would love to get him. But the year before, you hired a coach and that group was down, and you're like, ugh. This year, I thought it was a down year. When Ben Johnson became available with Detroit, but who's to say Ben Johnson wants to leave Detroit to go to the Raiders? He's probably going to want to go somewhere where they're closer to winning than the Raiders, because he just went through a rebuild in Detroit. He doesn't want to go do that again. The year that Dan Campbell was available as a head coach, Dan Campbell, I would have hired Dan Campbell many years ago after what he did in Miami as their interim head coach. He's shown that he has the chops to be a head coach, to go to New Orleans and learn from Sean Payton and whatnot, and be a disciple of Parcells, which Belichick is a disciple of. It shows that each year is different. So I'm going to take a look at who's available as head coaches this year. And if it's a really good group and I feel like I can get somebody that I feel is better, I'm a firm believer. If you can pull the plug early and save some heartache and bring in somebody that you feel is better, and then go ahead and do it. If not, stay with AP. It'll be year 2, and then he'll be going to his 3rd year, which will be his final year of the contract. It'll be a lame duck year. Next year will be the show me year. If we don't see the improvement, if I'm Mark Davis, I don't see the improvement, I'm gonna this is it. I didn't see what I didn't
get that. I understand that. That's not a problem. That's what I am hoping for. At a certain point, AP has to show that he's able to do the job. But you just talked about all of these people who came under all of these trees and learned under these great coaches. AP didn't get the chance to do that in the NFL. He did not. Nobody was grooming him to be a head coach in any of his positions that he was in.
So you're willing to take him with no experience in that? I mean, he was with Herm Edwards at Arizona State, and he was basically running that program. And the NCAA has proven that with him having a 10-year cost and a 1-year ban.
That's the Pac-12, man. He wasn't playing nothing. There wasn't nothing out there looking like NFL football.
So again, it goes to what NFL people have said, where he skipped these steps to be, and that you really kind of need to have to be a head coach. I mean, look, I'll put it to you like this: Brennan Marion had opportunities to go be a position coach at a Power 5 school with the passing game coordinator title, and then he even was the OC at Howard. When he left Howard and went to William and Mary, he took a step down and went to Hawaii as a receivers coach in 2020, because he was told you need to go work under a coach at a Division I level and work your way back up. That's how he ended up at UNLV. They ended up going to Pitt, Texas, and then UNLV is their OC. It's a process you have to learn to become a head coach. AP skipped all of that.
But you don't think that the situation that you go into, every situation is different. Every situation is different. And the bottom line is, it's like when you draft two good guys, like CJ and what's my man name?
Will Anderson.
And Will Anderson, right? Or when Khalil Mack and Derek Carr was drafted, right? You're drafting these two players because you want them to grow together, right? All right.
Right.
It's the same thing with AP and this team. This team needed a culture reset. It started with John Gruden getting fired, the whole AB debacle, then coming in the Patriot Way debacle. You flip out on Rich Bisaccia, Rich, who should have been the damn coach after you fired John Gruden, the way I see it. You went against your team and what your team wanted. So now you're trying to go with your team. Let them grow together. Give them the opportunity to get better. The man is going to take his lumps. He's taking his lumps with a bad team. Let's first be real about the situation with the Raiders. It's a bad team. It's not about firing your head coach. You can go get the best head coach in the world. There's still going to be a bad team for some time. First and foremost, you have to get a quarterback. Let me just go to the Colton Miller thing. The majority of his career, he's had to block for 2 seconds. If you're going to go from somebody as accurate and who gets the ball out of their hands as quick as Derek Carr, and you're going to go to damn Jimmy Garoppolo, what's the backup name? The Auburn dude? I can't even remember him. Jarrett Stidham. Come on, man. Hoyer, bro. Hoyer. Gardner effing Minshew, brother.
And don't forget,
then you want to blame it on Colton Miller, who's also hurt. Nobody should have to block for 6 seconds.
Don't forget Peterman.
Bro, come on, man. Those types of moves make a team that's serviceable in certain areas terrible in those same areas. We have to look at reality. We have to look at the actual things that have actually happened. There's enough fault to go around for everybody to not be harping on Antonio Pierce making mistakes in games that don't matter. Can I tell you why they don't matter? Because the worst thing that could have happened to the Raiders would be to win the last 2 games that they lost. Because what does that do for them? Every game they win pulls them away from getting a quarterback.
But you don't think that you don't think that winning those games would help with the culture, because now you're breeding a culture of winning?
No. You can bring a culture of winning all you want, because Gardner Minshew is going to give the ball to the other team. So the culture of winning becomes a culture of being angry and pissed off and throwing your helmet on the sideline and asking to be traded. You have to have a quarterback. All of y'all, oh yeah, Gardner Minshew, 15 million, blah, blah, blah. That was stupid. Let me go back.
If you're going to bring in another.
Let me go back. You're right. I agree. They only did that to bring in a serviceable backup. Number one, because they wanted to get a quarterback. And number two, if they didn't get the quarterback, They felt like Aiden O'Connell showed them enough to have a competitive camp, and they expected him to beat out Gardner Minshew. So let me take back. Bottom line is you need a quarterback. You don't have one.
Let's be real about that, about as far as the camp. And when you go into camp and you've been told that you're taking the reps with the ones, even though he's getting paid $15 million, but you're getting the first reps. And Gardner Minshew caught him and passed him. Aiden O'Connell lost the job, and nobody wants to talk about that. When you get to that point, when a coach says to you, Coach, if we're on a team, Squeeze, and somebody's our starting quarterback, right? Goes into camp, and we bring in somebody else, and this coach says, hey, Nick is the starting quarterback, but Dominic they're going to compete, but Nick's getting the reps. Nick doesn't end up starting. He lost the job regardless. And O'Connell, it's unfortunate that he broke his thumb. It's unfortunate that he broke his thumb. But again, if by your way of thinking, it's the best thing that could happen to the Raiders.
It is the best thing that can happen to the Raiders. The man lost the starting job because it was the third offensive program that he's been in the last 3 years. That's why.
2 years.
You cannot continue to have to learn offensive systems. He's a second-year player. In college, he was running one. He came here, he was running one. Now he's running another one. He was behind. It's a lot to deal with. Gardner Minshew came here knowing the system, having played in the system. That's how Aiden O'Connell lost his job. He hasn't developed that type of quarterback mind yet. He's a young player. He has not had the time in the league. He's not a complete pro yet. He's learning. And that has a lot to do with why. This is a stupid offensive system. It's stupid. Why is it stupid? Because you don't have the players that can run it. So when you don't have the players that can run it, you need to either make some changes to it or admit that you made a bad decision bringing that system in.
Well, you know what? I got the solution. The rest of the way, start Carlton Bradley.
And ruin him? No. He needs to be your backup quarterback to who you go and draft next year. Get him ready.
O'Connell go at the end of the year.
Oh, absolutely. Not keeping O'Connell for what? For what? Are you going back to for what?
Trading for a bag of rocks.
Exactly. No, he can let him go on and he can be a serviceable backup somewhere else. We need to get rid of him. Let him go. We need to get our quarterback of the future. It's one guy, as far as I'm concerned. I know you're talking about Quinn Ewers. I'm not.
No, I'm not a big Ewers guy. I think.
Well, you said it every time I say Shedeur Sanders, you say Ewers. You always do that.
No. What I'm saying is this: when everything happens with the draft and all these names come out, you're gonna have Shedeur, or Ears, Ward, Beck. You're gonna have those four as the top four quarterbacks that people are looking at. You're not; those are the four guys that are going to be battling to get to that spot. Shedeur is going to be number one. He's going to be the first quarterback off the board unless Carson Beck shows something. He's the guy that's past Quinn Ewers because, again, he can't stay healthy. And I think Cam Ward, people are going to question if he's legitimately 6'1" or not, and his size. And I think with Bryce being as short as he is and Kyler Murray being short and kind of not having this success that they thought he was going to have even for his size, in spite of his size, I think that's going to play against Cam a little bit. So, but those are the four quarterbacks that are going to be vying for the number one spot.
As far as the Raiders go, I'm not necessarily talking about the skill set for those quarterbacks. But as far as the Raiders go, you guys are going to get tired of me saying it, but it's the bottom line truth. You got to put up with Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. You got to put up with Denver's defense, and you got to put up with Chris Jones. That's 6 games in a year. You need a quarterback that is accurate and has a fast processor and that can get out of trouble. if you draft that type of quarterback, you don't have to go trading Colton Miller because he only has to block for 2 seconds. And if he only has to block for 2 seconds, he's the man. You want him to block for 15? It ain't going to work. And the bottom line is, ever since Derek Carr left, we have not had a fast processor in the quarterback position yet. The way that you get back to that is to draft Shedeur Sanders.
Well, the draft is in April. It's in Green Bay. We'll hopefully be there. I'm going no matter what. Like I'm not missing
What's
this.
the weather? What's the weather like in April up there? You still gotta have.
Oh no, it's like 70 degrees. It's like
okay.
60, 70 degrees. Like, bro, man, look, it's the Mecca, man. That place when it comes to football is the Mecca.
No,
and you can say what you want. Yes, it is.
Nowhere close to no Mecca of football.
It's
please.
The Mecca of the NFL. 100%.
You're out of your mind.
Crazy like a fox, like the Fox River flowing
so many people. I'm putting Pittsburgh, San Francisco, Boston. I'm even putting Dallas above Green Bay. You're talking about meccas of NFL football. You're out of your mind. There's 15 people that live there. They all live in the stadium parking lot. Like, how is this the Mecca? You're out of your mind, bro.
Whatever, man. Your way of thinking is always flawed. Just like you thought the Lakers should keep Darvin Ham when obviously it was the right move to fire him because they're off to the best start. We're talking Lakers when we come back on the Franchise Podcast, Halloween edition.
This segment was brought to you by National College Resources Foundation, the College Expo. NCRF is a 501c3 nonprofit educational enhancement organization whose mission is to curtail the high school dropout rate and increase degree and/or certificate enrollment among underserved, underrepresented, at-risk, low-resource, homeless, and foster students. For more information, visit www.thecollegeexpo.org today.
Welcome back to the Halloween edition of the Franchise Podcast. Joe Arrigo, TQ. Happy Halloween. Make sure you get out there and vote next week. You see my man with the sticker. And let's talk some Lakers right now. Okay, so going into break, I pointed out correctly that you wanted the Lakers to keep Darvin Ham. And since the Lakers have fired him and hired JJ Redick, who initially I wasn't a fan of, but I'm going to tell you guys why in just a little bit. I think it's the right move, and I changed my tune. The Lakers are off to their best start since the Kobe years. They were undefeated heading into Phoenix on Monday. They lost to Phoenix 109-105. They played Cleveland on Wednesday, where LeBron and Bronny both got on the floor for the second time in their career. I think that's what's scheduled to happen. All right, Squeeze. The Lakers off to this start. I can tell you why I'm a fan of JJ Redick now, and it's personal.
Bro, don't come telling me about meeting the man in the tunnel and talking to him and all of this blah, blah, blah. Nobody cares about any of that, Joe. Nobody cares. That hasn't helped the Lakers win a game. That's not going to help the Lakers beat Denver 4 out of 7 or Oklahoma City or any of that. Who cares?
Well, no.
Okay, JJ Redick said, what's up? Oh, that's the reason why he's a good coach?
Well, I mean, there's a history there from me working in LA, covering the clip when I was covering the Clippers, whatever. But that was part of the reason. The other part is accountability. After the loss to Phoenix, JJ went on and talked about how the mistakes he made, the things it was on him, versus we didn't hear that with Darvin Ham. It was always, it was always somebody else. It was always this problem. Always
it wasn't always somebody else, bro. It wasn't always somebody else. Stop it.
Was there ever him saying, hey, I made this mistake. It was on me. We didn't hear that from Ham.
Here's the difference between Ham and JJ Redick. All right. Darvin Ham was a bruiser. All right. His upcoming, where he's from, the type of ball he played, the type of man and person that he is. He felt like, I'm coaching a team with LeBron James on it. LeBron James, probably the best basketball mind we have ever seen in this sport, right? I got AD on this team. These guys are champions. I'm a champion. Why do I have to babysit this team? I honestly believe that that's where he was coming from. I'm coaching men. I should not have to teach you the fundamentals of basketball. First of all, LeBron knows the fundamentals of basketball better than I do. All right. First and foremost, I should be able to come in here and just lightly steer this ship, which should be the case. Bottom line is, Los Angeles is in every city. And just because Bron is the most cerebral mind that we've seen in basketball, I don't really put him as one of the strongest minds that we've seen in basketball. When it comes down to strength and endurance, I'll say the same thing about AD. I'll say the same thing about most teams, most Laker teams, going back to the pillars, Kobe Bryant, Magic Johnson. Outside of that, okay, you got some guys, but when it comes down to mental fortitude, those were the ones. We haven't really, that's what I mean, the pillars, the guys that are up in the rafters, right?
Yeah.
Those haven't always been a part of Lakers' success. Now you go out and you get a guy like JJ Redick after it's evident that the Lakers can thrive with this type of coach more so than just a leader of men. Then you look at it and you say, okay, the ball's moving better. They look like they're having fun. They look like they like each other. They seem to want to hustle. Effort. Now, if you're an NBA player and you're an NBA veteran, if you allow a coach or any other factor to affect your effort, I'm not buying it. And I believe that's what the Lakers did regarding Darvin Ham last year. You said that he had lost the locker room, the players don't like him, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay. That's probably the truth. I don't blame that on him. I blame that on them. That particular group with LeBron James in the middle and AD as good as he is, which he's showing us right now, you should never let anything stop your effort. Flip side is JJ has come in and restored something so far. So it looks like it was a great hire, and it was one that I wasn't turned on about in the beginning. If it continues to go like this, I believe the Lakers are contenders.
I agree with that. And I think part of that, the effort is you have Bronny in the locker room, and LeBron wants to make sure he learns it the right way at the pro level. I think, you and I both know this, and I'm not saying LeBron has done this at all. And I'm just game about NBA players. There's two different phones that they have. They have their regular cell phone, and then when they hit the road, there's a road phone that the clubhouse attendees and the guys working for the team carry, and they give to them. And that road phone is for extracurricular activities. And there's going to be none of that with LeBron this year. Not with his kid there. Those road trips that when Bronny's not playing for the South Bay Lakers, it's a different road trip. It's almost like a playoff atmosphere all the time. And you see LeBron in playoff in Olympic type atmospheres, he's locked in. So I think that's part of it too. There's a different type of dynamic. I also think something that you were correct on is keeping the team together and the cohesiveness as a team. Now, when you keep the team together and you add a Dalton Connect who can space the floor and knock down threes and looks like he was the absolute steal of the draft at the 17th pick this year. When you are able to have guys on your team that you've kept, that you now, if you need to at the trade deadline, make a move and bring somebody in, you can, because now you have the flexibility to do so with all these contracts now being movable, aside from LeBron and AD, provided you want to do it. I don't think they move Reeves. I don't think they're not going to move Connect, not with what they've seen with him already. But Vincent, absolutely is movable. Jackson Hayes is playing well. He's healthy, playing well. When they get Christian Wood back, when Vando comes back, those are all things. Now the team becomes just an overall better and deeper team, and I think it creates problems with other teams, like you said, Denver or Oklahoma City, or I'll say this, Minnesota. I know they beat them game one. Minnesota's going to be a problem with that man leading the way, because now the lackadaisicalness and the talk about lack of effort that Carl Anthony Towns had and brought to the organization is gone. It's Anthony Edwards' team, and they're going to take on his role. And Anthony Edwards is a hardworking, edgy dude, and that's what Minnesota is going to become in the starting this year going forward. I think it puts the Lakers in a really good position.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said last year, I wanted them to stand pat because we weren't able to see this team play together, and we still have it. Put Vando on the floor, a healthy Vando, what he was before he got hurt. What does that turn this team into defensively?
Oh, like, they're different.
That's what I mean. So I would love to just give this team some time with everybody healthy. Damn the free agent market, damn all of that. It's a foundation. It's to see what's going to happen here over how many championships can this team compete for over, the rest of LeBron's career, whether that be this year, next year, or the next 2 years. We need to see him healthy. I think that they have put together a hell of a team on paper that should be able to compete if everybody's healthy. And when it comes down to competition, with a healthy Vando, with a healthy Christian Wood, with adding Connect, and AD playing out of his mind, you do not want to see this team for 7 games. And I'm adding the Denver Nuggets in there, and I'm adding the Boston Celtics in there. Nobody is going to be lining up wanting to play the Lakers, this Laker team, come playoff time.
And I tell you what, man, like opening night for LeBron to come into the game with Bronny. Yeah. That moment is special. I know we're fathers and our kids played sports. Coaching my kid was special. I wish I did a better job of it. I got the 2 littler ones. I have an opportunity to redo that with them. But I would have loved to be able to play in the game with Joey or Dominic. I think that would have been the coolest thing in the world to me. And for LeBron to be able to do that, and now he can do it, really for 78 more games right now, or 77 after when the show airs, provided if they wanted to do that. That's something that's beyond special. And forget the history of it, just, the human side of it. And forget how you feel about whether you like LeBron or dislike LeBron. That's a cool moment. Whether or not they manipulated the draft for him to go to the Lakers, so what? It happens all the time with other players around the league. It's just not as publicized. I think it's a cool moment. I think it's something that should be applauded. And every time it happens, it's a feel-good story. Now, I just don't want it to become a distraction. And I don't think it will. I think JJ's done a really good job of really limiting the distractions early on, even in training camp with that. I think he's done a good job of getting Bronny in and putting him in at certain parts of a game where it's not critical, and it allows him to be successful or could be successful and thrive. And again, I think JJ being a guy that played as long as he did in the league and playing, and he wasn't a typical, let's be honest, he wasn't a typical white player. It was just some guy that would walk around to shoot threes. No, JJ had an edge to him. Covering him with the Clippers, JJ would, man, when it came to talking shit, JJ was right there as one of the guys I was running his mouth constantly. There was an edge to him. There was just a way about him that if you didn't like the teams he was on, you didn't like him. If he was on the teams you liked him. And I've seen it.
An intelligent shit talker is much worse than just a shit talker.
Absolutely.
JJ is extremely intelligent. He has the cachet to go behind it. He's an absolute basketball mind. If you weren't able to catch that when he was a player because you hated him so much, which I was one of them, I loved him as an analyst. I loved him calling play-by-play. I loved him at the debate table because he always came with the most knowledgeable take. first of all, being as intelligent as the people he's debating against, and having played the game at such a high level for such a long time, and the coaching that he came through. So I see him being able to navigate this ship successfully. I want to peel back the Bronny situation a little bit. I look at Bronny as a college player. He is a college player who is getting the opportunity to cut his teeth in professional basketball, just like his father. You can say what you want to say about the college game. The reason why Europeans come in the league now so prepared, just like they do in soccer, is because they play against grown men at an earlier age than we do. And Bronny's health scare is allowing him to be able to do that, as opposed to spending all of the time in college. And I feel like early on, his family, Rich Paul, his unit, decided that that's where it was going to happen. And I believe that the Lakers made this move. I mean, you can say what you want to say about LeBron and his power, which I celebrate. I celebrate a black man having the power to be able to call shots, right or wrong. Not enough of us have it. So the fact that he was able to call that shot, bravo. But the bottom line is, I believe in the Lakers' development. And I believe that the Lakers see Bronny James as an integral piece of the team in the future. I believe that his athletic ability, his basketball acumen, and his pedigree sets him up for success in the NBA. It's just about getting time with the ball. He hasn't had enough time, and he's going to get that in the position he's in now.
The Lakers' ability to develop talent and go back to D'Angelo Russell, Josh Hart, Julius Randle, Brandon Ingram, Zubac. There's a ton of guys in the league now that have had long careers, and it started with the Lakers being able to bring out the talent. Yeah, obviously D'Lo is back, and he looks really good playing under JJ. Which, again, look, I don't know if there's a more pretty shot when it goes through the net than when D'Angelo Russell is on fire and he's hit. I mean, it's almost like the net doesn't make a sound. And his passing ability, I think it's top 10, top 7 in the league, his ability to pass the ball. He makes it look so effortlessly and easy. And the thing that, and we didn't even talk about this with D'Lo at all, but he wants to be a Laker. Like that's something to me. There's a general, like, I want to be here. I love it here. I don't want to play other places. I want to be here in LA wearing purple and gold. I like that, and that goes a long way with me. And that's why, it's part of the reason I'm a fan of his, and I'm glad that he's still on the team. I wouldn't, really, I'm looking for a big man if I'm the Lakers. That's it. I maybe a backup point guard, a guy that can come up and give you some 3-and-D. I know Gabe Vincent is there. I have to see more from him than the 7 games and in the 4 games this year.
I feel like we got to see more from everybody before we start talking about going into free agency and mucking stuff up. We don't know if we need it yet. Like, let's give it some time. D'Lo has grown up. When he first got to the Lakers, he was a prick. Period. He just was. And now he isn't, because he's a grown man now. And a lot of times, man, with pro ball players, like, we see what's happening across the NFL right now with these quarterbacks. I feel like the Lakers are taking the same approach with Bronny as the Falcons took with drafting Michael Penix. It's about the future. It's giving a coal, right? A piece of coal, the opportunity to shape itself into a diamond. And you cannot expect kids coming straight out of college to be able to handle what is required of some of these positions in professional ball across all sports. There needs to be development. And for a while there, that development just has seemed to to just be non-existent because coaches are tying themselves to draft picks, throwing these guys out there early and ruining what would otherwise be a good athlete with the ability to watch how the pro game is played. So kudos to the Lakers. Kudos for the Lakers for picking up Bronny and handling him like they've handled him. I do not believe that the Lakers are a franchise that would just have LeBron's son on the team if they felt like he was a bum.
Agreed, and it's a new old school approach. I mean, if you look at back in the day across pro sports, quarterbacks that get drafted and they don't play till their third or their fourth year. You look at some guys in the NBA, unless they are superstars and have their Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, Payment.
Yeah.
Like it has that ability, but those guys on the court. It took Kobe 3 or 4 years. People forget that.
Right.
It wasn't until
Kobe did his college years in the pros. LeBron did his college years in the pros. Kevin Garnett did his college years in the pros. Just is what it is. Take some time, right? It's gonna take some time to turn that around, to turn your raw talent into a professional athlete. That's the bottom line.
And that's it for this week's show. Like I know it's a quick way to get out, but folks, happy Halloween from us. Be safe out there. If you're last year in Vegas, we had a tragic situation where there were some teenage students and they were football players at a high school, try to do some bag snatching, trick or treating, whatever. One got tragically shot. Like let's not have that happen again. Be out there, be safe tonight. If it's after Halloween, we'll see you guys on the football field Friday. Squeeze, happy Halloween, brother.
Same to you, my brother. Listen, everybody. You see it? Let you get it close. Go vote. Do it today. Love y'all. God bless America.
See you next week on the Franchise Podcast.
Live and direct from the new planet Earth, where pandemics are plenty, but the girls are still pretty in fashionable dresses. You know what I'm talking about. Where ignorance is bliss.